Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the book of Job. Today, we're going to hear again from Job's friend Eliphaz, who was the first one that talked to him originally. And so we're kind of going to open up a second round of, let's say, questioning and interrogation. It's supposed to be encouragement, but we see how that has gone so far. But so Eliphaz is going to be the one that talks to Job today. And here's an overview of what we're going to see. Eliphaz is going to say that wise men have always believed that sin brings suffering. Job is frustrated with his friends and with God, quite frankly, and he's looking for a mediator between him and God. And we'll see later on that Bildad is going to say that terrors await the wicked, and Job accuses his friends and God of unfairness. He feels forsaken, yet he does still express hope that his Redeemer lives. So let's start out right here in chapter 15 with Eliphaz. And Eliphaz begins a second round of rebukes, really, from Job's friends. And right from the beginning, Eliphaz calls Job nothing but a windbag. And that's quite a thing to hear from your friend. So Eliphaz tells Job that he's acting like a wise man, but really he's foolish. So remember that they're going off of this assumption that all the bad things that happen to people are because of the bad things that they've done. But that, as we know with Job, that is not the case. So sinful people suffer, and Eliphaz again assumes that Job is suffering because of sin in his life. So he tells how the wicked suffer. How the wicked are going to suffer many troubles. And we see that if we read chapter 15, and that's going to be from verses, kind of the second half. So it's really split into two halves there. The first half is Eliphaz basically saying Job is full of it, okay? And then the second half is Eliphaz saying that sinful people suffer, and they're going to suffer because of the things that they've done. So Eliphaz's second speech consists of both rebuke and warning. He begins by criticizing Job in those first couple verses, and he accuses him of turning away from fearing God. And he challenges Job's wisdom in verses 7 to 13. And that's where he really talks about all that Job thinks he knows everything, basically, and questions anyone's ability to be pure before God. And he finishes by arguing that the wicked will be justly punished. So he's saying that Job, whatever is happening to you, you deserve it. And again, I can't state this enough. Job's friends to us look like the bad guys, okay? Because they are his friends and they're supposed to be helping him, but we know that they're not. But the reason that they're like this is because they're just assuming that what Job is saying is untrue, because they know from history and from the past that when things go wrong, when things happen to people, it's a result of what they've done. So basically, they've earned what they've got, what's happening to them. But Job, we know, is an exception, and they don't. And so after that, in chapter 16, Job defends himself. Job responds to Eliphaz with increased frustration, and we can understand why, because Job has listened to all three of his friends now come at him, and he's responded to each of them, and now Eliphaz is coming again and saying, you think you know so much, but really you don't. And he tells them, you guys are terrible comforters. Job accuses his friends in those first 4 verses there of an endless flow of foolish and critical words. So kind of the friendliness of these friends is evaporating so fast. And in verse 5, Job says, I would strengthen you with my mouth, and the moving of my lips should assuage your grief. So he's saying that he would help his friends if they were suffering. He's saying, you guys have come to help me, but you haven't. If you were in my position, I would be helping you. And then Job kind of gets back on his little pity party that he's in the middle of, and he says that both God and others have turned against him. Now, I say pity party, but that's really not fair, because we know that God has not really turned against him, but he has allowed the devil to rise up against him, and God is not intervening on his behalf. And his friends are also not supporting him in this difficult time. And it kind of comes back, though, in verses 19 to 20 of Job acknowledging that even though his friends aren't there, and even though God doesn't seem to be listening, he knows that he does have an advocate in heaven. He knows that God is there, but he wants somebody that is willing to stand up for him and to speak for him. So Job responds directly to Eliphaz's speech here in this chapter, in chapter 16. He responds by returning Eliphaz's opening criticism. Remember, they're basically trading off calling each other fools, calling each other foolish. And then he complains that God is the one that's oppressing him. Job briefly expresses hope of vindication there in the end. And when as we just said, where he was talking about how God, that he knows that God still is there, and he does still have somewhat hope that things are going to kind of come back his way because he knows he hasn't done anything wrong. And we'll see in the end of the story that he is right, but he is in the middle of this difficult storm, and it's sometimes really difficult to see the brightness, to have a good attitude about things like that when you're in the middle of struggles like that. But Job does. He's complaining, but he also knows that better days should be on their way. And so we see here that Job has heard from Eliphaz, and he's still not happy with how his friends are treating him, or when it comes down to it, how God is treating him. He's grown tired of this act, but we still got quite a ways to go in the book of Job. So that's all for today, and I'll see you back here tomorrow in the book of Isaiah.